for minimum wage, and you do what not minimum wage, but you get what I'm saying. So
Right.
yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I mean, it's reality TV. Like, she was told to light it up, and she did. She did.
Right.
Yeah.
And then she got, and then don't forget about Leah, who sued Bravo, Leah from Real Housewives of New
Mhm.
York, for, saying that, like, they promoted alcohol and they promoted, well, you're sober going on the show. You were
Yeah.
sober like 5 or 6 years, and then on season 2 you break your sobriety,
Mhm.
that's on you. That you can't, you know what I mean? Meaning, but she claims that, like, the pressure to drink or be a certain way,
Yeah.
but I don't know, because then you watch New York, they're not big drinkers, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? I don't know. I think New York, this new cast of New York doesn't work is because there's no chemistry between any of them.
Okay, but who do you like though? And so you would never bring Leah back. Would you bring like an Ebony back in the new group, or do you bring the old school girls back, the old school ladies back into the show? What do you do?
Ebony was an alumni of Become a Host. I
I don't think Ebony did that bad season 13. I think season
no,
13 was a challenging season. I think
totally.
one thing that she's always done, she's worked in the journalist space. I remember she went to go do something with Revolt Network with the podcaster Joe Budden, who's a former rapper, very successful.
I know
One thing
Joe.
about Ebony, she always goes and marches to the beat of her own drum. So I think it was a huge. I understand that they had to revamp, but I think as they revamped and they're finding out that their season two, isn't working, let Ebony come in as that voice of reason. I could not believe that more. I think she is wonderful, and I think what we got was just a very interesting time, and there was a lot of like pointing the finger at her because she was so, saying this, saying that otherwise. But I don't think it was that. I think it was a really difficult season. The season was failing regardless. Wasn't Ebony's fault. Yeah.
Right.
And
Well,
now
I think
I think she just gave birth, so she's like motherhood, like that's a new journey. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
yeah, well, I'm a big fan of Ebony because she's a Become a Host alumni,
Okay.
so I'm a big fan, love her, I think Ebony came at just it was timing, and it wasn't the
Hmm.
right time because of the whole just everything, and she sort of had to be like the voice of, like, you know
Yeah.
and I think that was tough and to navigate, and when you have people like Ramona and Sonia that are sort of so tone deaf to all of that, which is
Hmm.
also what makes them such train wrecks to watch, right? So it's that double-edged
Yeah.
sword, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's such a double-edged sword, but I think
Well, maybe
what's been
that's what the new cast doesn't have. They don't have
they
their train wreck. They don't.
they
Ramona,
don't
for
have.
what she was, she gave season after season after season of
Yep,
that train wreck. And if the
right.
new cast doesn't have that, maybe that's a little bit of the problem. Not supporting a lot of Ramona, but you get what I'm saying.
100%. I think they're all too aware of themselves.
Hmm.
And so when we're watching as an audience, we're just like, oh my God, you're editing yourself. You're so aware of yourself. You're so mindful of, like, how do you want me to bring up
Yeah.
Scientology? How do you want to have this conversation? It's like, wait a minute. You're editing yourself before the editors get to edit you. And it's
Yeah.
boring and it's contrived and you think you're cool and you're fascinating and you dress hip. It's just
Hmm.
not enough. Like, meaning it's too superficial. I want to know B and C and D story from these ladies, and we're not getting it. We're just not.
I'm a little nervous. I love that you say that because it's not just the A story, it's the B and the C story.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna throw out a couple things I've already mentioned on my channel. Because you're in casting and you know it so well, I want to know if I'm like completely off or I'm right on point. I thought in the new cast, this was my like original thought process. You bring in like an Olivia Palermo, you bring in like an Adrienne Bailon, even. Those were some of the choices that I had. And so I'm going to ask you what you think of those two, but I'm also going to ask you what you think of what I thought is, would Ebony even want to go back to Real Housewives of New York? I think this is me. I think, and I've said this on my show many times, I think she should revamp Blood, Sweat, and Heels, I think it was called. The show
Yeah.
that had 2 seasons. It was massively big. Melissa Ford was on the first season. It was massively big the first season, and then it just fell so dramatically. What I think you do is you give Ebony the lead role in that and have her assemble a cast and kind of let her go do a show and see where it goes. I don't, because like, to be honest, like if I was Ebony, would you even want to do Real Housewives of New York? To be the only cast member, I think, in history to never get a reunion. That's crazy. That's like
No,
that's really challenging.
right. No,
Yeah.
I agree. I think I would love to see Ebony come back in that genre in some way.
Hmm.
Absolutely. I think she has a great voice and a great story, and we never got we never got the chance to hear it, or like, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um, and I think she would be more suited for this cast versus the OGs, but bring in an Olivia, bring in
Yes.
Adrian, like, you know what I mean? And
Remember Olivia Palermo in The City, the way she
totally
so gently,
right,
but with her eyes just like shot through you
right.
with a little bit with Whitney Port on The City. Who was the gal that she worked with at when they were working
Aaron,
for Josie? Was that the blonde was Aaron?
no, Aaron Lucas was my client who was on The
That's
City.
right. Yes, I
Yeah,
remember you before we knew her on The City. You yeah, you would yeah, I remember you would talk about Aaron quite a bit. Um Olivia was wonderful. And but would she ever do reality, you think? Probably not, huh?
I don't know if she would ever do reality. I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, I
There-
think, yeah, her career has, I don't know. I mean,
yeah.
and I think that's why I think the franchise of Real Housewives, they have to be really careful the next 5 to 7 years, meaning be very mindful of the people you're putting on, because casting is such a pivotal point, and that's why they're getting, finally the recognition in Emmy nominations and
Yeah.
whatnot, because it is that we, all the casting I've done, when the show's a hit, do we ever get any kudos? No. And we should. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Meaning we absolutely should. No, it goes right to the executive producer. They get all the kudos and
Mhm.
not us. But casting is so key. And when I watch these shows, I'm like, God, this is what's missing, or this, you need this spice, you need this
Mhm.
sugar, you need this salt, you need this cayenne, you need, you know what I mean, to make this interesting, group of ladies engage, enlighten, educate, and entertain the masses, right?
So do you think they're missing the boat when they're casting like an influencer? Like Sai plays really well as an influencer, but does Sai play really well as being compelling on the show? My first initial reaction, I was like, she's not cutting it. But I think season 2, she's learning to step into what it is. And I think Sai actually is being well-rounded, and I'm kind of into it this time.
I
But
like Sai the best out of everybody on the whole cast. I think I like,
Exactly. In the season 2 when she goes, "And I saw myself on camera," and you're expected to hear,
right,
"Oh, and I wanted to make some changes or better myself." And she's like, "And I thought I looked beautiful." Like,
right.
Sai kinda, I think, really learned how to do this, and we need more of that. Yeah, absolutely.
100%. And I like the idea of Jenna, but
Mhm,
I feel like Jenna's she's too guarded. She's
mhm,
too afraid to really, like, let the audience get to know her, you know what I
mhm.
mean? And so,
I don't
I
get rid of her though. I wouldn't get rid of
I
her. I
don't
still
get rid of her
keep her
either.
as a part-time, let
Yeah,
her still add to the credibility, the fashion sensibility,
100%.
the go-getter New Yorkness. That's the key of a show is
Right,
your part-timers. Your
right,
part-timers that clock in. Not that they ever want to feel left out or not making as much money or not in the credits or whatever,
right.
but and to be honest, if I did a show, I've got my own thing, I built my own thing, I've got 20 years experience. I mean, I would take a lead role, but a lot comes with that, right? But if you
Well,
could take a part-time role, get in. I mean, Marlo used to say this, like, get in, you get all the benefits of doing it, but it's not all of the attention. I think, I don't know, part-time's not exactly as bad as people think, unless
no,
you're Jackie Goldschneider from Jersey. She
right,
hated it.
yeah, yeah.
We'll talk
I
about Jersey in a moment, but I want to finish this New York thing here. We got to tie this up. And I just need 2 sentences about when we talk about casting, because Marki would know, Marki has been casting for years, talent manager, et cetera, et cetera. Marki Costello. Make sure you go check out her websites and all the work she's done over the years. I've been very luxurious that I've got to not only take the class, but I also got to work in the office. So I'm
And
always a
be
big
my
supporter.
friend, and be my friend.
Envy, Mama Marki.
Yeah,
I'm going to ask you about the great Kenya Moore in a second, and I'm going to ask you about the great Larsa Pippen in a second, and then we'll end with Jersey. But
okay.
tie up right now, New York. What do you do? What do you ring? We're going to our consultant, Mama Marki, Marki Costello. What do you do to fix Real Housewives
I
of New
have
York?
the answer for you. You bring Luann back, honestly, to show these girls, like, you bring in Luann and maybe Dorinda. You bring in Luann
Mm,
and Dorinda, and you have Luann, Dorinda, Sai. You have Jenna be a friend, and you recast, like one or two other people, and that's what it needs. You need a little bit
Yeah.
of the OG with the new G's, you know what I mean? And
Now you do, because the season 1, I understood they had to do that, but
right.
now you mix. So does that mean you're not bringing Aaron back, Jessel? What are your thoughts on them? Aaron, when I did I've done it 3 times now, Watch What Happens Live as one of the virtual callers, my 3rd time. But the first time I did it was with Candy Burris and Aaron, and the season was really thriving at the beginning. Do you think Aaron doesn't come back? Like, I don't know. What's Aaron? Where is she missing?
I can't stand Jessel. Jessel just bugs me on every level. Like her and her
She's
husband.
cute.
I know, but she's cute, but she's just blah. I think Brynn had a good first season, but Brynn now is like, it's like when you're a rock star and you have like this amazing one album, and like the hardest thing is the follow-up album, right? Well, I think that's what's happening with season 2 of New York. The follow-up is just, it's crappy, you know, and so you need a little bit of the OGs with the new Gs.
Yeah.
Erin has potential,
She
but when
does.
she lost me with the whole mezcal. When like
Why? Insensitive?
it was not insensitive, it was ridiculous. Meaning it was just like, what the fuck? Are we not being politically
Okay.
correct?
Okay, we're just going with it. We're flying by the seat of our pants. Which
On the mezcal. Mezcal lost by Aaron. You keep Cy. Jessel leaves. You keep I love what's her name? The other what's the other
we've Uba is Chanel Ayan from Dubai's cousin. Yeah.
You keep Uba and you keep Cy. You bring back Luann and Dorinda. You keep Jenna as a friend, and you cast one more person, and that yummy, delicious New York salad would be on fuego. And Andy Cohen, if you're hearing us, call
he
me.
is.
I'll help you cast it. Now,
do you like Raquel? Do you like Raquel?
I like Raquel. I mean, I like her. Here's the thing. I like everything about her so far. Like, she's very interesting, and I like the dynamic of the relationship and the art and how cool she is and the way she dresses and her mad style. I need more. I need more. And hopefully by the end of the season, we get more of Raquel. But can we just jump to Kenya, please? Because
time out. Mama Marki Costello, who I've worked with and took her classes. So we go back in very deep conversations we've had. Now, this is just reality TV, so this is just very fluffy conversations. But let me tell you somebody that I have loved from the beginning. I used to, in fact, say Real Housewives of Atlanta started season 5 when the great Kenya Moore came through. Gone with the Wind fabulous. I am a huge Kenya Moore fan. I never liked the notion, oh, you're just a has-been from the 90s. You might say you're a has-been from the 90s if you weren't around and kind of saw what Kenya was. Kenya was the culture of the time. We, like, in terms of me growing up, I was 18, 19, 20, 21 when Kenya was moving, right? And so when she came onto Atlanta, she could have been full of herself or whatever the case, but she showed up and she performed. I've always loved the great Kenya Moore hair care. So I will be happy if you also, as a casting director and as a talent manager, if you agree that she is one of the best. Now I'm going to be at the edge of my seat eating my popcorn.
I love Kenya. I love Kenya.
If you were going to be like, if I was going to say like, okay.
I love Kenya.
Hey, Ronnie Jr.